if you are working with a producer, the producer is going to have an opinion. And the idea is that that opinion that the producer has is going to be taken into account. There's going to be disagreements. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be the dictatorship of the producer, but we're going to find a way to make something which comes out from my producer perspective and your artist perspective.
This is the Self-Recording Band Podcast, the show where we help you make exciting records on your own, wherever you are, DIY style. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Recording Band Podcast. I'm your host, Benedict Hein. If you are new to the show, welcome. Thank you so much for listening or watching. If you are already a listener, welcome back. Always glad to have you. I am a mixing engineer. I have a studio called Outback Recordings. It's a mixing studio, and we mix about 200 songs to 300 songs per year. So it's a lot of music that we work on here, and a lot of it is from self-recording artists. So we often coach these people through the recording process, help them get better tracks at the source, help them optimize their recordings before they send them over to us for the mixing. And that basically led to us starting this whole platform and podcast, because we take our experience from working with all these DIY artists, and now we help you get better recordings at your jam spaces and home studios as well through this podcast and through the whole platform that we built. Usually, I'm doing this here with my co-host, Malcolm Owen Flood, but he is not here with us today. And instead, I'm super stoked to welcome Manel Espinosa Berenguer. So Manel is a member of our Self-Recording Syndicate, and this is our coaching program that we offer. And he is a self-recording musician, a songwriter, a music producer based in Madrid, Spain, who writes and records music as a solo artist, as well as for bands and artists seeking his expertise, skills, and perspective. And since we first met about a year ago in 2023, a lot has happened. So Manel has turned audio production into his career, and he even joined the team here at the selfrecordingband.com as a freelancer. He's editing this podcast and a couple of other content things that we do. He's editing and mixing these. And he's just leveled up so much since we met last year. I'm so excited. He's also a friend now. I consider him a friend because we spent time together even in person at a music industry conference not too long ago, and we are in touch frequently. So I really enjoy working with him. I'm super stoked about the progress he's made and about his whole journey. So it's about time to introduce him to you and tell his story. Welcome, Manel. How are you?
Hi, Benedict. Glad to be here. We're making a dream come true right now, literally.
Really?
So, yeah, really happy to be here.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. You mentioned in a message a couple days ago that you actually had a dream about this podcast interview, right?
Yeah, but it's not like a goal that I had in my life. It's a literal dream, you know?
Yeah. That's what I mean, yeah. Which is funny too. So was it a scary dream?
No, it was like a positive thing. So
okay,
yeah,
that's great. Let's see where this is going. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast because your journey is very impressive. Your work has been very impressive from the start, actually, but also the progress you've made and the whole your passion, your drive, your work ethic you bring to everything. It's just and you're just such a positive person also to work with. So I'm super excited to share all this. So maybe give us your background story before we start. So before we met and you decided to join the syndicate, what have you been doing the last couple of years? How did you get started recording music, making music, all of that? Like what's your journey looked like before we met?
Yeah, that's gonna be a long one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to sum it up as much as I can. So basically, I started like playing in bands since I was like 14, 15, something like that. And that led to us recording stuff in studios.
Mm-hmm.
And then that led me to record stuff in studios with producers that were way better than me. And I learned a lot of things from that. And I ended up being myself the producer without even knowing that, kind of like, yeah. because like I was the one leading the band and leading the recordings and all that. We had someone who was like engineering, but you know, I was making all the decisions and all that and blah blah blah. And yeah, so that led me to join another band that was kind of known here, like in my region, in Alicante, in Valencia, Spain. We had a lot of gigs in festivals and stuff like that. So that's when I kind of realized that I could make a living out of music, but that didn't happen because the band broke up after a couple of years. And then I decided to start studying modern music, like more seriously, in Valencia, where I was living at the time. And after 2 years studying with amazing teachers who, you know, showed me the way, so to speak, I decided to go to Ireland to study commercial modern music at BIM Dublin. And that's where I started to kind of learn the basics of mixing. So when I came back to Spain, I kind of felt like I wanted to come back to Spain to pursue a career in music, because my music was mostly in Spanish, so it made more sense for me to come back to Spain. But I felt like my mixing level wasn't there yet. And then I found your ads on Instagram and all that. And we started a conversation, and I remember I was really hesitant at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now here we are a year after that, you know.
That's awesome. So there's a couple of things in that I want to unpack real quick. So first of all, you obviously always have been excited about learning and seeking out teachers and mentors, and like it's not your first experience like learning from someone. You went to different schools. You had teachers and mentors and people you worked with that you could learn from. So you are one of those people that in general are just a sponge and just soak up knowledge and try to learn from the people around them, which is a great mindset to have. And you're still pretty young. You turned 30 this year, I think, right? So all that happened while you were pretty young. You did a lot already in your life as a musician. So that is great. The other thing is you were willing to even like go to other countries, travel, whatever it takes to make that work. That's also something not everybody's willing to do. We had this like running joke when we were in Hamburg, where we talked about different places and cities, and every time we talked about any place, you were always like, yeah, when I lived there, I did this and that. And then like, where have you not lived, Manel? It sounded like an 80-year-old, traveling the world his entire life.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the fact that you mentioned that makes me happy, because that's one of my main goals in life, to like travel the world and experience different cultures and stuff like that. So that means I'm kind of making it,
Yeah, totally. It's really impressive from the outside. Sometimes we don't see it ourselves if we're just in the middle of it, but from the outside, it is really, really impressive. And you got some cool stories also to share there. So that is the one thing. The other thing is that it sounds like you never really had a plan B. Like just doing something in music was always your goal and your focus, and you didn't even, like, maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds like you didn't even consider doing something else, basically.
Well, I'm the kind of person that is not very practical. Like, I would say I'm very romantic in a way that I just follow my heart. And that's something that I have from my parents, because they always told me to do what I wanted to do instead of like trying to do more like practical things, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like since I see a video of this guy called Slash, the guitar player from Guns N' Roses, I wanted to do that,
Oh, really? That was the inspiration?
Yeah, that was the first, guitar player that I was really into, with a cool hat and all that. Yeah. He seemed like sort of like an introvert in some ways, because he was always like this. So I guess that identifies with me. And yeah, but I never really considered that as something that could be possible, because of the place that I was living, I guess, and all that. So until I joined this band where, we had lots of shows in festivals, that's when I realized, okay, maybe it can be possible, But besides music, I studied what we call here like audiovisual communication, which is mostly like TV, film, radio, and stuff like that. And that's why also it makes a lot of sense that I'm editing a podcast now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also I always had those two routes, but I didn't really have any other plan B. I just tried to pursue those things. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, totally. You made it inevitable. Like you put yourself in situations where it's just a matter of time. You made it inevitable that it would happen. That's what I love about it. If you have the talent and then you have that kind of focus and that goal and that kind of mindset, if you put it yourself in situations for long enough, that would increase the chances of getting there. It almost becomes inevitable. It's just a matter of time. That's what you did, and that's what I really love about it. So you even have a song about what you just described there with the whole practical and romantic thing. There's I don't remember the original Spanish name, but it is pretty much what you just said, right?
Yeah, that's the name. Like ser práctico no es romántico. It's like being practical is not romantic.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I have these two kind of personalities in me. Like part of me is very systematic, logical, practical, if you will, but then also I am super stubborn and romantic and when it comes to achieving my dreams and goals and there's two sides of this for me. So I never had a plan B and always knew that I wanted to do music, but how I approach it is relatively logical and practical sometimes, I think. Anyway, fascinating.
But I think those are like two different things. Look, because I think I'm pretty organized and practical in terms of making things happen. But for example, I could, my dad, he was a high school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have decided to go on that route, which is way more secure in a sense. You just pass the exams and do your thing. And if you do it, then that's it. That's for you forever,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But you chose the romantic route.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Cool. Now, it sounds like you had a lot of things going for you already and you have had some experience. And to be honest, when I listened to your music when we first met, it was already good and pretty impressive, which is why I also wanted to work with you. But what was missing? Why did you want to go one step further and get another kind of perspective and this kind of mentoring and coaching? Like what did you feel was missing a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, in general terms, it was mixing, that I didn't feel that I had the results that I wanted if I compared myself to maybe other music and stuff like that, stuff like that. And I knew that it wasn't about the gear, or it was about the knowledge, about my ears, about, hearing things. And yeah, so that was, I think, what was missing mostly.
Cool. And what did you said you were a little skeptical in the beginning, which is totally understandable. Like after all, I just was a stranger on the internet when we met, and it was a pretty big investment for you in terms of time and money and everything and the commitment and all. So I totally get that. But you took some time. We had conversations. You talked to some of our members, and then you got back to me and decided to do it. And what made you take the plunge ultimately to join the program? Was there one thing you remember that was like, yeah, I think that makes sense to do it?
Wow. Well, I'd say I listened to a lot of the podcasts before that. Like I kind of went into what you were doing, like how some of your recordings sounded and stuff like that. And also I talked with some of the people who were already in the program, and they were very honest. Like,
cool.
So yeah, I guess I had to take the chance and go into the swimming pool, like we say here, and see what happens. Like, at the end, I think it's a big investment. So I'm the kind of person who, when I do something like this, I just go all in, or else I just don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's a matter of trying, because you never know. And you can always go, you can always just stop it and whatever if you don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And also, in your case, it was even more impressive. For like really, your case is special to me because first of all, you were not in the situation where money wouldn't have mattered at all or something. Like it was not that it was it was a big commitment for you, and so there was some risk and all that for you. So I really appreciate you still doing it and taking the risk, basically jumping into it, because if it would have hurt if it wouldn't have got you results. So that's one thing. The other thing is, like you said, this kind of, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right kind of mentality that really showed when we worked together, because in our program, people can, for example, pause the program if they can't work on music for a while, or, you can do all kinds of things. Like there's really no pressure, and I try to make it so that everybody gets my full attention all the time. But you are one of the very few people who never took a break, really, like maybe occasionally or whatever, but you pretty much just were on it all the time. Like you just submitted stuff for feedback. You were very active. You interacted in the community. You did your assignments. Like it was just perfect, honestly, really, really perfect. Some people take forever to complete it compared to what you have done, and you were just always on it and always with such a positive attitude as well. Like you really made the most out of it. And that was very, very impressive to see. And that was part of the reason why I ultimately ended up, hiring you as a freelancer for us, because I just knew I could trust you. I've seen it for a year now that you can put in the work. You have the right mindset. You do great work. Of course, you are skilled as well and all that. But the soft skills are almost more important for me there, because I just know you are reliable. And when you say you do something, I know you will do it. So that was crystal clear for me. And when you applied finally, like that was like a no-brainer for me. Like that's, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that come into play with this. And the first one is that I always say that I think I'm so lucky that I've had the support of my parents like forever, and I think I will always have it. But I really respect my parents too, in a way. Like I'm not gonna allow myself to just waste their time and money.
Yeah.
So every time I've done something, like when I went to Ireland to study, I wasn't there just having fun and whatever. You always have to have fun.
Yeah.
Also, but or when I went to Denmark for my Erasmus year, yes, that was an Erasmus year and that's kind of special, but I still have to, deliver, So I cannot think about getting into something like this without giving my everything, everything I can do. And every person can have their own situation and whatever you want. But, in my case, it's just... And also I think that I'm a person for which these kind of programs are very nice, because when someone gives me steps, like really clear steps to follow, I'm just, I like that. So
Yeah.
I just do it, it's quite simple. So
Follow the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think everything you just said there, or we just said there, is also important for artists to know when they are thinking about working with you. And I can highly recommend doing that, by the way, because you are one of the best. First of all, like you are a very well-rounded producer. You are not very just a specialist in one thing and you can't do the rest. You are a great musician, first and foremost. Like you're one of the most talented musicians I've met. So, like it's really like that. You can play all kinds of instruments. You have a wonderful voice. You have just a great feel and ear for things. Like that's really impressive. So you understand, and you're an artist yourself. So you understand the artist, you understand the music, you're about the feeling, about the emotions and about that. So that is one thing. The other thing is when artists want to work with a producer, they want someone that understands them, but they also want someone who's reliable. And a lot of people out there these days, there's a lot of producers, but many of them don't deliver on the deadline, or they don't do what they said they would be doing. They don't really care as much about the artists. And you do all those things because that same work ethic that you showed in the program and in other things you've done, you apply that same kind of thing to when you work with artists, I'm sure. And this is a big one because that trust between the producer and the artist is super important. So both on a taste and like musical level, but also like just the sheer reliability, work ethic, that type of thing. So I think that's a really important skill to have in life in general, but with music especially when it's so much about trust. So yeah, about your skill set. So like I said, you're a very good producer, instrumentalist, but you're also like a musician and instrumentalist, but you're also producing and you're mixing. And what's so fascinating to me is that I think the technical part was maybe a little bit of a weak spot like a year ago. And now that has caught up and your mixes have just gotten better and better and better to the point now where when I give you feedback, I barely have any notes. Like sometimes there's a little thing here and there, something's a little off or whatever, but in general, it is all a matter of taste. It's like the same thing when I send a mix to an artist and they have small notes. It's just normal part of the process. But it's never that you submit something and I'm like, oh, okay, this is clearly wrong or you got to do this or that. You really, within a year, took it from good home recording level to absolutely professional results. Yeah. And this is truly impressive. So you now have the full skill set. You even, sometimes master your songs yourself. Like you deliver a finished product that can be released the way it is. And in a very short period of time, that has happened. So I don't know.
Shorter.
What did you say?
It should be shorter.
Yeah, I mean the short period of time from like within a year, the learning time. That I mean the turnaround time can always be shorter. Yeah, but that happens naturally over time. But yeah, so how do you feel about your skill level now? It's pretty much exactly a year later, or a little more than a year now since we met. How do you feel about your skill level, the confidence, the quality of the things you put out? What's your own perspective?
Well, I would say I feel way more confident, obviously. And that, at the end, that comes down to just being consistent in like being always like always having something to mix, and just trying and trying and trying, because at the end, it's all about your ears and your ability to hear things when they are bad and hear good things and all that. It's not about the plugins or whatever techniques you learn, because if you're not able to, listen to subtle EQ changes, then it doesn't matter. Like, so, and that I couldn't do it at the beginning. At the beginning, we were doing things or trying things that I couldn't hear the difference between using this compressor and this other compressor or whatever. But now I can hear those things. So, of course, I'm glad that that transformation is ongoing. But I think I'm never gonna be like satisfied. Like, I always think I need to be better and blah blah blah. But that's a positive thing if you are able to control that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lifelong learning process for sure. Yeah. It's interesting how you talked about the whole being able to hear it thing and how plugins and gear are not the answer. That alone, I think, was part of why you were successful with this and why you made the progress you've made, because you didn't look for the answer in gear or in just throwing money at the problem. You sat down and really made yourself, you practiced and you forced yourself to be able to hear that eventually. You even to the point where you are very hesitant to buy new plugins or gear in general. Like you got a laptop and a DAW and you forced yourself to just work with what you have there for a very long time. And then I remember at some point you considered, okay, maybe I should buy a mastering limiter because the stock limiter just doesn't do it. That was one investment. But for the most part, you've been working with stock stuff and intentionally forced yourself to get great results with what you have, which is the opposite of what 90% of all audio enthusiasts do. Like, it's so funny, even in Hamburg, when we went to this conference where all the professional audio gear manufacturers had their booths and stuff, this was just a couple weeks ago, and you were already a really professional, great mixer and engineer and producer there. And I remember walking through the hall, and you were like, "Yeah, I don't really know these things." Like,
Yeah.
and you were very open about this, and you still get so amazing results. And I just love that because there's so many people who can tell you every single detail about every piece of gear ever made, but their mixes sound like crap. And for you, it's the opposite. You could care less about all the gear, and you still deliver super great work. So that was really funny and cool to see for me.
Yeah, I remember me asking you there, like, okay, but I need you to tell me, like, if I get this 1176 hardware thing, how do I use it? Like, I know how to use it on my computer, but like, how does it work when you have it here? Like,
Yeah.
So like, but the thing is that I've never worked with those things. So how can I know? It's like, but at the same time, those things are also like fascinating to me. It's just that it hasn't been on my workflow, never ever. It's the same that we were talking about a couple days ago about the microphone, about the one you have there, because like when you have that microphone, you have this plugin that has the emulations of the most iconic microphones ever, which I don't know. So before deciding which emulation to use on my recording, instead of like doing some research and trying to find out, this mic is used for this because blah, 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 I thought like maybe it's better if I don't know it and I just go with whatever sounds better to me in that moment. And I like to make that kind of decisions, like.
Yeah, totally. And I think it is actually a superpower because people might think now, well, how can you be a producer or engineer if he doesn't know the gear? And I can tell you, Manel is better than 90% of all the people that I've ever talked to in this field, like at least, and like he's really delivering awesome stuff. And the reasons for this are his ears and taste and the practice and work he put in. And with that mic, that was so fascinating to me. You're right, that you can choose all these mic models. And my brain, or as someone who has worked with a lot of these pieces, I would immediately go and make that decision more like based on my experience or things I know about the gear. And maybe I would be biased then, or probably would be biased. And you deciding I will just do it by ear and I will not do the research is actually a superpower. And what ended up happening is you sent me the recordings with that new mic after you got it. And then I asked you which model you chose because I felt like it was a great choice. It really fit the voice of the artist well. That the top end was great. A lot of the time the sibilance is a problem with certain mics if it doesn't fit the voice and stuff. And I was just interested in what you chose there. And I knew what I would have chosen probably for that voice. And it was exactly that. Like you chose that and it was a perfect choice. And you did that without knowing like the tech details, but you just chose it because it sounded the best. And I'm sure that the longer you do this, the more you'll know about the gear. It's inevitable. It just will happen.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's fascinating. It's not that it always has to stay like this. But the fact that you've developed your ears to the point that you can use everything and use it correctly without knowing everything about it is so cool and is the absolute best way to approach it because you don't get distracted by the stuff that doesn't matter, by the tech stuff. You're all about the music and how it sounds. And honestly, I would try, even if you learn more about the tech stuff, I would try and keep as much of that musician and music fan perspective as possible as you develop yourself. Because if you lose that and you turn more into like the tech geek sort of, some people lose the ability to listen like a music fan, to listen like a musician, and to really be about the music. And I would preserve that as much as possible because I really think that is your superpower at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's all about not being too hard in any of the sides,
Yeah.
Because like, for example, when we first met, I already had the UAD plugins. But I didn't even know they existed on my computer. So like when we started talking about EQs and compressors, that's when I found out like, oh, I have this thing called 1176 and it has different sounds, different versions also, like the blue gray, whatever
gray,
it
but
is.
yeah.
And so I started experimenting with those things thanks to you, like to your steps. And now I have some more tools that I find very enjoyable instead of only using the like standard logic limiter or whatever. So it's don't go too hard in any of the ways. Just go with the flow and trust your gut.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You also made a few great gear decisions still, because even though you said you're not so much about gear, it's also not the other extreme. You're totally right. You have a great setup. You have a great laptop and a professional DAW. You have great microphones like the Slate modeling mic, the Aston mic that you're speaking into right now, and a couple of other choices. You have the UAD interface, the Apollo with those plugins. Like, you have a really professional setup. There's no compromise there in quality. You just don't have stuff you don't need. It's just the stuff you really need that really makes a difference. But you also didn't do a bad compromise, and that's very important to say also.
Yeah.
So that's great. Smart decisions there. Cool. Did you tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing with other artists? Because, like I said, part of what you do is your own music, and that's a lot of that I've heard during the program. But I've also heard a couple of songs and projects you've done with others, and that just got more and more during this year, to the point where now an artist from Poland is flying to Spain to work with you, which is crazy to me. It's so cool to see that. Like, people, strangers from across Europe, hire you, trust you, fly to Spain to work with you, and are stoked about it. Apparently, I saw some stories of her and like stuff you posted. So maybe share a little bit. How did that all happen, and what do you do currently for other artists?
Well, the Poland thing happened. We were actually talking about this, me and the artist Ola Bird. That's the artistic name. That's the magic of social media. That we met through Instagram because she posted a video, like a tiny part of his song, like a demo, and she was singing it. And like on the caption, she said something like, "I'm looking for a producer to produce this song." So, so I just went there like, "Hi," and we started talking about it. We had a video call and all that, and she was all in on that. And at some point, she decided like, "Yeah, I don't really want to go to another studio to record this while you're not here, because I think you can really add a lot of things to the song if I'm there with you and we talk about it and whatever." So yeah, she decided to come here, and magic happened. We had a really great session, like with lots of funny moments here. And yeah, I think that's one of my strengths is the vocal recording, I think, because I have like lots of ideas. I'm a singer myself, so I can communicate pretty easily with the singers, because like I know how it feels when you sing, like what kind of mental tricks you can tell them to make them do some certain things and stuff. So yeah, that's how it happened. And also I worked with a band from the program, with Love 40 Down.
Oh yeah.
With an acoustic EP that they are making. Well, it's made now, but it's not released yet. And so, yeah, the most of the things that are happening with me working with other artists came from Instagram or any other social media, with just me like looking for projects,
Cool. Totally. Yeah. Love it. But it came from you being proactive about it and looking for those people, yes, but it obviously also came from you having the skills and being able to make people trust you based on what you've done before. Like, it just
I don't really know what did they see on me, but my Instagram is full of content of me talking about music industry things, on composing, whatever. So I guess they saw something there. On my music also, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool to see. You're right. There was this EP for the band Love 40 Down that you worked on. that kind of happened through the Self-Recording Syndicate, through the program, because Torsten, a member of that band, is also in there in this community. And they were looking for someone to mix it, and they wanted to sort of keep it in the family. And Torsten which is a nice thing also about this community. And so Torsten posted it. You said you would love to have a go at it, and then you did it, and they're stoked about it. I think from that project on, the S's will haunt you forever. But other than that, it was a great project.
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with the S's now. Like all the time, I'm listening for like 2 S's. Like even when I'm on social media, I hear someone talking. I'm like, that's too much. Yeah, you should have controlled that a little bit.
Oh yeah, the struggle is real. Yep, the struggle is real. Oh man. But yeah, that was a great project as well. I think for both you and the band, it was a great learning experience, and it came out great. So I'm very happy about that too. And yeah, you just told me last week because part of the program is also like a studio business mastermind that we have. It is like a bonus thing that I added at some point for those in the program who will also want to turn this into their careers and not just focus on the audio side of things. So we meet once a week and discuss the business of running a studio or being a freelance engineer. And you told me that you are now at a point where you kind of achieved the first goal you set for yourself, and you are now you have to be a little more selective with like how much work you can take on, who you work with, and all of that, just because you are in demand now. You get requests from people, and you're booked solid. And I'm so proud of that and proud of you, and I'm so happy to hear that. And obviously there's always room to grow and all that, but being able to say that after a year where last year it was kind of the dream to make that your job and maybe reduce the hours at your teaching job that you had and all that, and then to be able to be here a year later and say, hey, I actually realized I've achieved that goal. So yeah, that's just congrats on that. I just wanted to mention it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's also amazing for me. Like, I wouldn't say, because I don't like to say like these crazy things like, being in this program, working with Benedict changed my life. Like,
of course.
I don't like to say that sort of things, but I mean, my life is kind of different now from 1 year ago. Like, that's a fact,
I love it.
So, now I'm editing this podcast, which I'm going to have to edit myself now. And
oh yeah, that's always fun.
And also working with other artists, producing other artists, and especially what makes me happy is that I like the music that I'm producing. Like, I'm really excited about making those songs as good as I can, because I like their personalities, their music, so I'm very motivated to make them shine as much as I can. And I don't know, I think this year has been, it's been a big change for me at the end. I mean, I just can't just evade saying that, it is what it is.
Yeah, totally. And man, I'm so happy to hear that. Especially since I know that coming from you, it is honest, because I know you wouldn't just say things like that if they were not true. Hopefully nobody does, but in your case, I really know where this is coming from. And so hearing that, I really appreciate that. And I'm very glad to be part of that journey. So thank you for that. Now here comes the question, Manel, that I just have to ask on this podcast. I just have to ask you. How would you describe the music you are making? Because you just said you like the music you make and you like the music you work on, all that. Like, how would you describe your genre or the genres of the music you make when you work with others?
Oh my God. Like, that's kind of difficult. With my music, with the album I've been working on for 2.5 years or something like that, I would say it's kind of a mixture of a Latin music sort of base, because I studied a lot of Latin music for my final year project when I was studying in Dublin. And what comes from that final year project is the album. So I studied Latin music to add some of it there. Like, I'm not I would say I'm not an expert on Latin music at all, but I took some elements from there, especially rhythmic elements and all that. So that's the base of the project, and then it's mixed with like sort of pop, funk, even hip hop maybe, which is what I am, okay, basically. So, and some rock elements too. So that's what I would say for my project. Yeah, I know it's kind of back, but it is what it is because my project is back in that sense. And then, with other artists, I mean, it depends, but I think, because like I'm not about music genres, you know that.
That's why I'm asking.
I kind of hate having to classify all those things, but they are useful, of course, for, some things. So I would say that basically the music that I produce is music where the vocals are very important, which has a very strong rhythmic bass and groovy and all that. That's something that I always look on my music. And then there's the flavor of every artist. Like Ola, for example, she is more about dark pop with a little more like rock touches and stuff like that. I'm also working with an R&B artist from Spain. She's from Venezuela really, but she lives in Spain. I've done also some indie rock. So yeah, with regards to genres, as long as the music connects with me, I don't really care.
Yeah, totally. And I think you said it there. I think it's not a genre, but your kind of style or your thing is really vocal focused in a way, or like you're really good at like creating vocal arrangements, also knowing when you don't need a lot, like just making sure the vocal really shines and the emotion comes across. So vocal production and the groove is something that really stands out to me when I listen to your stuff. It always makes me like, even if it's not the kind of genre that I usually work on or listen to a lot, every time I listen to one of your mixes or songs, I'm immediately starting to move to it. It has a groove to it. It just works. So I really think you captured it there really well. It's the groove and the vocals most of the time. Which in many genres are the most important things anyways, but you do that type of thing really well. And I just asked this question really because I know that how much you hate like these music genres, terms, and I totally get it. And I don't think it's necessary. You even have like merch that says "I hate music genres." I bought a hoodie from you because I love that so much. Yeah. So that's great. Now, when people like, what do you look for in an artist? Like when an artist when you consider working with an artist, when they reach out to you or you find someone online, what are the criteria that you look for when you make a decision of like, is that a good fit for me? Could that work? Could I do great work there? Like how does that decision making process look, and what do you look for in an artist?
Firstly, I would say that the lyrics, what they say in their music, has to connect in some ways with me. Like, yeah, basically that's very important. And also, I'd say I would prefer when they are kind of open to like changes. Yeah, because like I think that lots of artists, or even we, tend to diminish the importance of the song itself before anything else happens. So like, yeah, we can mix and produce a really lovely song and make it sound amazing, but if the song is bad, then we will have a bad song that sounds amazing, and that doesn't go anywhere. So and sometimes it's about little details that you can change before everything happens to make the song better. Yeah, so I think for me it's very important when the artist is open for those kind of things also. And then, in general, as I apply to myself, I like to Like I don't like when I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. Like if I don't do it, or for whatever reason, or I can do it or whatever, I would always try to tell the people before or something, you know. So I think it's important for me to know a little bit of the person behind the artist also, because like yeah, in this process of 1 year, like trying to work with other artists, I've also made mistakes, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of trying to learn from those mistakes. And, you know, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I
Kind
love
of all over
everything
the
about
place
it.
here, but yeah.
No, I love everything about it. It's the stuff that really matters. What do you see are from your experience now, having worked with different artists and you having worked on your own music and all of that, and with your professional experience, what do you think are kind of the biggest mistakes that a lot of like independent, up and coming DIY musicians or home producers make? Maybe like two different types of people. There are the musicians who work with someone like you, and then there are the people who do it themselves. But maybe you see like common things that either mistakes or things that they need help with the most.
I would say the mentality is the biggest thing here. Like, if you need a producer, you should kind of know what a producer is.
Yeah.
Like, what is he supposed to do? Because I think that the most important thing that we do is have an opinion. Yeah. So, if you are working with a producer, the producer is going to have an opinion. And the idea is that that opinion that the producer has is going to be taken into account.
Yeah.
So if it isn't, then I would say you don't need a producer, because the producer is the artist. You need someone to do the things you want to do, like an engineer or something, someone who is there to just do what the producer says, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that's one of the main problems, like for the artist to identify what do they need and how do they want to work. Because if you're working with a producer, the idea is that there's going to be disagreements. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And we're going to find, like, it's not going to be the dictatorship of the producer, but we're going to find a way to make something which comes out from my producer perspective and your artist perspective. And that's going to be, generally, the idea is that the result is better than if we worked alone.
Man.
So, yeah. And, yeah, the other thing that I would say is what I've said before, like, the importance of the song, of working on the song, because I'm one of those artists, producers, person who thinks that really any song is usable as long as you work on it to the best of your abilities, you know? I think that if a song is or kind of seems bad, you can work on it more and change it until it's good. Like maybe the verse is not the best and you need to do it again, you know? It's not always gonna be really fast to make a good song. It sometimes happens, but unfortunately it's not always gonna be like that. So you're gonna have to work on it more to make it happen, but you can do it, you know?
Yeah. Man, there's so much in there that I love. And one thing you said there resonated with me a lot. And this is, and I've never heard someone say it like that, but it's so true. You said there's going to be, if you work with a producer, there's going to be disagreement. And that is kind of the whole point of it. And I really, really, really love that. Because if you already knew all the things that need to be done to make the song the best it can be, then you wouldn't need a producer. So you hire a producer because you think you need help with producing the song. And if so, then of course the producer is hopefully going to know things or have a different opinion, that like know things that you don't know and have a different opinion and perspective. And then between the stuff you know and what the producer knows, somewhere there is where the magic then happens. And the sum of the two is going to be, you know, the end result sort of. And I just love that. And also but honestly, also to be fair, I think a lot of people don't know that there's a difference between a producer and an engineer, and sometimes this gets mixed up. And what you were saying is that it's okay to not need a producer. Like if you are the producer then and you make the decisions and you don't want anyone to have an opinion or make creative changes to your songs or whatever, and if you have the sonic vision and you know what everything's supposed to sound like, you just can't apply it, you just can't implement it, then all you need is an engineer. You tell the engineer what you want, how it's supposed to sound, and then the engineer makes it happen and makes it come out of the speakers. That's totally fine, but then you don't need a producer. And a lot of people don't know that kind of difference. But if you hire a producer, which I recommend in a lot of cases, just for the outside perspective and that different opinion, then you're going to have to disagree on some things. You're going to have conversations, and you're going to have to figure out the best of both of those perspectives and serve the song at the end of the day. And you got to trust the producer, obviously, because if you hire a producer, then you better hire someone who knows more about it than you, and then you have to trust that person as well.
Yeah, I think there's always, part of our role as a producer is to educate the artists in some of those things, because like sometimes they don't even know, and they don't have to know this, like how, like what the process is, like what mixing is, what mastering is, what producing, what editing is, So especially when you are working with artists that doesn't have that much of an experience working with producers, then you have to tell them all these things and all that. But yeah, I've had situations where I've been like saying, I think we should change the structure of this song because this doesn't really feel natural, or, let's try another key, or let's change those chords because maybe we can find something more interesting here. And they would always say, no, 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 no. So then that's the question. What am I doing here? Like, you don't need me really. Like, and, I don't really want to work with artists as an engineer, That's not what I want to do. So if you're not up for my opinion, then it's fine. It's all right, but you have to find someone else. It is what it is.
I love that. And like I said, your superpower is you can engineer for sure and you can mix, but your superpower is the ability to really focus on the song, listen to the artist, listen to the emotion, and making that happen. And you do just whatever it takes, and it can be engineering things, but it can definitely also be arrangement things or whatever. You just holistic kind of producer that all that matters is the end result, and you're not going to limit yourself to just engineering if you know that the song is going to be much better if you do a few other things, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very, very cool. So can you name like anything in particular that made like the biggest difference in your own learning process during the last couple of years, or that last year in the program, whatever? Was there one specific thing where you were like, that really made a difference, that helped a lot, or that was a new perspective that I didn't have before?
Wow, I would say the main thing is finding the right teachers, like the right mentors. One of them including you, of course.
Thank you.
But like when I think about this, I always have in mind maybe like 4 or 5 teachers that I've had in my life that opened up, a different world to me. Like, for example, I had a really amazing vocal teacher who, I think it wasn't even that much about that singing techniques and all that, although we worked on that. It was more about making you feel like, man, you can sing Queen, you can do it. You have because I would never thought about it, like how am I gonna sing like Freddie Mercury stuff, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
And she made me believe those things. And then I also had a guitar teacher who was really passionate about theory. And I also like theory. So that opened up lots of things of me, like knowing about more like scales and harmonic tricks or resources I could apply into my compositions and producing and all that. So I would say the biggest change or the biggest changes on my musical career have happened because I've met really nice teachers, mentors, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, it's so good. So good. Dude, I love how you answer these questions because it's very rarely a very narrow, specific answer, but it's more like the general approach that opens up a lot more at the end. Like you could have said this one technique really made a difference, but no, you said like finding the right mentors and like because if you do that, all of the other stuff will happen automatically as a byproduct of that. So I really love that. Being a lifelong learner and having that kind of mindset.
Yeah, I would say every time you find a nice mentor, just take everything you can. Like, just like I'm doing now with you. Like, I'm gonna ask you anything I think about. I don't know, and also like, because you guys who have a lot of experience in those things we want to do. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like. You've been here like 15 years before me or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have lots of things to teach me. Like, I had, when I was in Dublin studying, I had like Simon McBride, who is playing for Deep Purple now, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
He was my teacher there for a year or two. And he had a lot of wise things to say, Like, so those things really stick into my head as of today. Yeah.
Same thing. When I had my first mentor, it was a mixing engineer who mixed a record for me and then also taught me to record better tracks because then he could get a better result. That was kind of my first mentoring experience. And that's what changed everything for me because I realized, oh, wow, if I don't just stay in my bubble and in my like vacuum trying it to do myself, then like I'm gonna learn so much faster. And that was like before that I was just trying to figure out everything on my own in isolation. And that first mentoring experience and seeing how big of a difference there was at the end of it, it was just mind blowing. And then same with like when I decided that I want to do this as a job and it could actually work out. I had no idea about the whole business side of things and how to get new people and how to run it all, how to get clients and artists to work with and all that stuff. So what did I do? I found someone who has been successfully doing that in a way that resonates with me. So I don't, when it comes to business stuff, I don't agree with I agree with all the general like business knowledge out there, but not everything is like the way I want to do business. And so I was looking for a teacher who would do it in an ethical, cool way that I could see myself doing as well, and who has been successful running a studio and all that. And then I, bought courses and then eventually took coaching, which was very expensive for me at the time, but it made such a big difference. And it's like with everything in life. Whenever I want to achieve something, like you said, I look for someone who has done what I want to do and who is someone that I like personally. And then I just learn from them. And it, like you said, it's so obvious, like, right? If someone has done something, obviously, that you want to do, then if you apply what they tell you, it's pretty likely that you're going to have success as well. Like, it's funny how that works sometimes, So, or at least avoid the mistakes they've made or whatever. There's always something to learn. But like, it's obvious, but a lot of people don't do it. So I love that answer. Cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say a philosophical thing here, which is that I think that for every one of us, if we think about the very best moments or achievements of our lives, there's always someone else there. Like, it's not only you.
Yeah.
So just go out there and interact with people,
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. So it's good. We're going deep here, Manel. Like that's what I'm all about. That's awesome.
Yeah, that always happens when we talk.
Yeah. Yep. Really. No, I honestly, even like this time in Hamburg as well, when we were at Studio Scene at this event, you said it at some point. It's not just. I mean, of course, it was work and all that, and there's certain things you wanted to do. but also friendships kind of developed there, and we had good conversations about things like that, and you can learn from those as well. Just being around people that you can have good conversations with, that alone teaches you a lot. And it's not just that I'm teaching you, I learn a lot from you as well, and like we all learn from each other when we interact, and like that's just just magic.
Now that you mentioned that, one of the probably the main thing that made me join this program is that, nowadays you can find a lot of sort of like aggressive ads out there, like telling you, I don't know, negative things, like treating, I feel, for example, like they are treating me like a number,
Yeah.
And when we had our talk, like our video call at first, you seemed like a normal person with, friendly attitude. So yeah, that for me that's very important. And now that I know you a bit more, like we've spent 4 days nonstop talking about stuff. We even went to the gym.
Yeah, we went to the gym, exactly. The German silent gym.
Silent gym. Yeah, just to maybe to explain it to our audience is that in Germany, when you go to the gym, the music is not loud at all. You can, it's kind of weird to me because here in Spain, the music is loud. People are more like talking and stuff, and there it was more like silent. So it was weird to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's like that in every gym in Germany, but that one was very quiet. Yeah.
So yeah, the thing is that I've met you in different situations now, and I'm very even more sure that you're a nice person to be around with.
Thank you.
And that's important to learn about you and whatever. So
man, I love that. Thank you so much. Likewise. Yeah, it is important. That's what I meant with I like to do business a certain way, maybe compared to others, and it might not be as good for the business, whatever, but I don't care because I'm doing it because I want to feel good about everything I do, and it has to, everybody has to make that decision for themselves. But I really appreciate you saying that, basically, that what I'm doing resonated with you. So that's great. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about joining the program? It obviously helped you, but is there anything that you can share, or anything really? Because I know that for a fact, always there are some people who are maybe considering it, but they're hesitant to reach out, and maybe you have some thoughts there. Because if I say it, of course I'm promoting my program, but maybe you have some thoughts.
Yeah, I would say just do the same that I did, which is talk to Benedict and see what he has to say, and then tell Benedict to put you in some sort of contact with people who is already in the program, so that you can talk to them about what they think, because they are gonna tell you the truth. It's not gonna be everything is beautiful and it's all roses and whatever. So that's what I would say if you're in doubt, because this would be probably a big investment for you if you are in my situation, at least. So do your research, That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And at the end, in everything, even when you start studying at university or anything, you have to take some risk and just try. So if you don't try, you don't know. That's basically in everything in life.
Thank you. Yeah, do that. And also, I just want to mention it because you mentioned the investment a couple of times. It's true, it is an investment because it's personal coaching over a long period of time, depending on how long you join. So of course, it's not going to be super cheap. But I have to also mention, it's not super crazy as well. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. I just want to say that because if you, for example, if you join for an entire year, it's still going to cost you less than making one professional EP at a studio or something, right? I've made 5-song EPs, producing, mixing, mastering, everything that cost more than a full year of coaching. So if you do that and you apply those skills more often and you get one record out of that, and ideally more, like you actually save money compared to having to go to studios all the time. I just want to say that. And the more you apply these skills, and if you start working with others especially, there's actually a return on that investment too. And over time, you definitely save money. So it's not that I just don't want to create the feeling that it's just some super elite thing that costs crazy amounts of money. It's not like that at all. It is aiming at DIY musicians, and I know what the budgets are. So it's totally doable for most people. If you have a job and some income to invest into your goals and dreams, totally doable. And the best thing is, if you jump on a call with me to talk about this, like there's no pressure and you don't need to buy anything. You can just have a conversation with me for an hour, see if it is a great fit, and then we either part ways, and at least you have my opinion and my perspective on what I would do in your situation, because we create this kind of plan for you. And if you feel like, well, that is a great fit, you can join. And if not, you at least got a conversation with me and maybe have some clarity, hopefully, afterwards. So there's no risk at all. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and I would say, like, if I think about it, this, like, it took me a year to be from where I was before to where I'm now, and I wonder how much time would have it
it would have taken
yeah you know what I mean. It would have taken if I wasn't in the program, because like I learned a lot about like systems and how to run this, like the web page, so I think it would have taken way more, like, to be honest.
I'm sure, definitely. Yeah.
Not only with the mixing skills, that's one thing, but also with the like kind of business side of this, because we do some business calls every week, and that's also very useful if you want to make this your business, basically.
Yeah, that is optional. Like if you just do it for yourself or whatever, totally fine, or for your own band. But if you if you plan to do this as a career or a side hustle or whatever, there is the business mastermind. So this is an optional thing, but I'm 100% sure that it would have taken you longer. That's the whole point, basically, of doing this, because I remember that it took me a very long time, years and years and years, until I got to the point where I felt finally confident about my work, but also to the point where I felt like I have things under control and it feels like I'm actually running a small creative business here that is sustainable and all that. It took a very long time, like almost 10 years actually, to get to that point where things started to feel good. And I can offer that in a shorter time if you put in the work, because I can tell you the mistakes that I've made. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. That's the whole point of mentoring, basically, and so I could have gotten there faster if I discovered the magic of mentoring earlier, but it is what it is. So cool. Now back to your music and your skills real quick, Manel. I know that, and we haven't talked about this, so this might get edited out, or I don't know, but maybe not. But like, do you have something that we could give to our listeners that could help them with maybe improving their songs or their lyrics or whatever? Because you said it's the most important thing about a song. It's the vocal, it's the lyrics, the message, the emotion. And I know you created some resources there that you put out to your audience. It was primarily in Spanish, I think. Yeah. But I was thinking maybe we could do a version of that, or maybe you have something to give out to our audience as well that I could send out in an email or put in the show notes or whatever, or maybe later. Doesn't have to be right now, but I was thinking, you know so much about songwriting, about writing lyrics, about overcoming writer's block, about improving songs. Whatever comes to mind, I would love to have some kind of valuable resource that we could just give our audience, and they can learn from that, apply it, get immediate value, and then maybe also reach out to you if they want to work with you. But even if it's just a free thing for them, that would be super awesome.
Well, as you said, I have a video about different techniques you can use to improve your lyrics. That's the main goal of the video, but it's in Spanish. So I guess the most of the people listening to us right now cannot really use it.
Yeah.
But we're going to work on an English version of that. So.
Yeah.
So, I don't know when exactly it will be available, but we're working on that. So we'll talk about this probably in the near future.
Yeah. So that's very cool. Like, I think we will do this as kind of a part of the coaching program, as kind of a playbook or resource on that topic, or maybe as a standalone course or something. We're not sure yet what it's gonna be, but maybe we can have some version just for our podcast listeners in this community at some point, because I would love to give them something now that they've gotten to know you, and so I want them to experience, what you can do actually and how you can help them. And of course, if you want to get in touch with Manel now, you can absolutely do that, and he can show you one-on-one what he can do. So if people want to work with you, if they're interested now in your skills, and again, I can highly recommend it. I could recommend my own production or mixing service or whatever, but I really recommend going to Manel for a lot of artists, because of, especially if you're looking for a producer, because I'm primarily mixing, I'm not really producing. Manel is doing like the production thing, the holistic approach, like we said. And I just know that you're doing great work. So I would love for people to reach out to you. So if they want to do that, where can they find you? How do they contact you? How does the process work?
You can find me through my contact place on my webpage, which is manelitomusica.com. Or you can also reach me out on Instagram, which is Manelito Musica. I'm saying it so slow for people to understand it. And and also, if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, you can comment, and if you have any question about anything, and we'll be in touch with you. I guess you cannot do that on the podcast versions, like the...
I think Spotify introduced a comment feature not too long ago, but if you can, wherever you're enjoying this, if you can leave comments, do it. And if we see it, Manel will reply. But YouTube is the best place for that, because they will definitely see it. So Instagram, YouTube comments, or your website. I'm going to put all of that in the show notes as well for you, of course. And if you're on YouTube, the links will be in the description as well.
So don't be shy. Ask anything. I don't mind. I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities.
Yeah. Can people listen to your work somewhere, to your songs that you've already released and stuff?
Yes, you can find them also on my webpage, but also on YouTube, which again is Manelito Musica. Very practical. And also on Spotify. You can just find me typing Manelito, which is my artist name. And you can have... you have everything there. I guess we'll probably have some links on the description below if you're on YouTube. And that's it, basically.
Really cool. Any upcoming projects you want to share or talk about before we wrap this up? Anything you're currently working on that you're excited about? Things that are about to be released or current releases?
Yeah, well, we've been working, me and Benedict, on my album, because Benedict is mastering, basically. And we have 5 songs, I think it is, left to finish it. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the road, the album will have a physical version, which is going to be a book instead of an album. So it's going to be a book with really lovely illustrations and all that, and some stories about the songs. So we'll talk about it in the future. And also I'm going to be working with Ola Bird, the artist from Poland, on 5 more songs, probably 4 or 5 more songs. Like, she wants to make an EP. Yeah, and then I'm also working with a guy here from Spain that's called Goma. The artist name is Goma. We're working on his live show. Like, he's gonna have a live show probably around September, so it's still a long time to go. But I'm also producing his songs until that gig. So that's very exciting, like, to know about an artist who trusts you that much to the point to, like, you're gonna produce my live show and also my songs and everything. And so those are the main things I would say now.
Awesome. Really stoked about all of this. Check it all out on, people can find that stuff too, I guess, on your socials, and you always post about the successes of your artists as well. So yeah. Congrats on all of that, and thank you for trusting me on your journey. And I'm very proud of what you have accomplished, and I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing in the future, because you're building something there.
And I think we still have a long journey to go through together, hopefully. So
Hopefully, yeah.
yeah.
I think so. I think so too. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for doing this interview. And if I get any questions from the audience, whatever, then I will forward them to you. And yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for all the hard work you put into everything and the passion, dedication, also for trusting this platform. And I'm glad you finally made it onto the show.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Thank you so much. As I said, I'm very glad to be part of the self-recording band, to be part of the syndicate, to edit this podcast. Yeah, I'm really happy also. Whatever.
Love everywhere.
Love. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening as well, or for watching if you are on YouTube. And if you are interested in experiencing that yourself and you want to see if the syndicate is a great fit for you, you can always go to the selfrecordingband.com, hit the apply button, and then we'll talk. All right. Thank you for listening. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Or adios, like Malcolm says.